you know that it's time to talk the ting with Kim. So you know that this is our discussion segment. And for this week, we're talking about interracial relationships. So it's going to be tips for interracial relationships. All right? So let's get right into it. Interracial relationships are relationships between two people that belong to different races or ethnicities. Although a lot of people like to glaze over this topic and onto a new one, it's important to discuss. Yes, of course, interracial couples are in love just like any other couple is in love. But there are some things that only occur in interracial relationships. For example, clashes of culture, different experiences of life, different upbringings, and much more. So because there's so much more to think about when you're in an interracial relationship, Funtastic Fridays has put together a list of 9 tips to make sure that being with someone from a different race goes as smoothly and positively as possible. So let's dive straight in. Well, actually, before we do that, Lionel,
yes,
what is your feedback on interracial relationships? First of all, is it something you've ever tried? And if not, is it something you would ever try?
All right, Kim. I don't think I've really ever tried interracial relationship. Because I mean, somebody that's like mixed, but I think like
a different background, different culture, probably different ethnicity.
Because I think a
different country.
I think at the point they, probably they had a different, like they're from a different background, but like
they're
probably
Jamaican.
like 3 generations ago. You get me?
Oh.
So they are more into the Jamaican culture than their.
So it's never really been an interracial.
I haven't really gotten to that point.
No. Neither me. Yeah. I've never tried. I guess I don't know. Maybe I haven't traveled enough. I don't know. Right? But I've never tried it. But what's your view on it? Do you think it's something that's a difficult thing? Do you see it as something difficult? Do you see it as something that it's just like any other relationship? Like what you think, or and what have you heard on the streets? People's opinion about it.
Well, just from my understanding, or what I've basically what it looks like to me, it looks as if that just like we have pros and cons. So I think it's gonna be an exciting thing because there's a portion of it that you're gonna be learning new things about the person, new culture, new practices. So it's basically like traveling in a sense. You know when you travel to see new places, you get in to see probably new dishes.
You're learning a whole new culture. Oh my gosh!
Probably even sometimes you're learning new languages.
You might all move go there.
New slangs, even that as well. You have the option to meet other persons from the family and so on.
Yeah.
So it can be very exciting. It does look that way to me.
But then, I think so, but the feedback, I've been getting is that most people are like that.
Culture clash, you're gonna have things you didn't expect.
Yeah.
So it's a pro and con, but you just have to hope that basically when you get into it, the pros are far, far more out there than the set.
But it's something you would try. So essentially, you're saying it's something you would try.
Anybody who from a different culture, give me a call.
Yeah. So if you're international, if you aren't a local, you can call us at Funtastic 93 FM, or you can link Mr. Fresh Concepts. All right. So we're gonna get into it, right? I said we have a list of 9 tips that can help you if you're in an international. It's so easy to mix up international and interracial.
It is.
But it's almost like an international relationship. It's the same thing. Right? Same thing.
There we go.
But so I'm going to go into the tips. Tip 1. Don't date someone because you basically see their race as a fetish. Right, so this is like people always want to do with a Spanish girl in
that's the exciting thing I'm talking about. People like, oh my gosh, she's Spanish.
The Jamaican girl, they come here for the Jamaican girl, them can cook and them can dance and we probably for women we hear about Frenchmen because you always hear about the French
the romantique
and the
boutique. Everything is magnifique.
Exactly.
Magnifique.
So you don't even understand half the language, but you just so fascinated, like, oh, I've never dated a Frenchman before.
You might get frustrated after a week.
Exactly.
But as I say, the whole part of it is basically most person is like an exciting experience.
But that's the thing. So you shouldn't date someone for that purpose.
No, I mean probably you didn't go into it intentional. That's what I'm saying.
But some people did that because you have some people who will travel and like their thing or they have like a tally.
Yeah.
Every country them go.
Yeah, them was smarty.
have an experience.
Every country them go, them was smarty.
Exactly. Right? So this one is incredibly important. You should never ever date someone because you basically consider their race a fetish. You have some people, I've always wanted to date a black girl. I've never dated a black girl.
I think that ties in the whole shallow thing. Because it's like you're saying, I want to date a tall girl. That can't be your only reason to jump into the date. You get me? Yeah.
Exactly.
It's gotta be shit.
So instead, try to seek out certain types of instead of trying to seek out certain types of people, be open-minded when it comes to who you fall in love with, and fall in love with them because of who they are, not because of what you're sexually attracted to, where they're from, or their culture. This is a huge no-no. So guys, don't just say, okay, I've always wanted to date a Spanish man, or I've always wanted to date, for the men, the Asian girls, because they're just little and cute and them something that, no, don't date someone for that
them
purpose.
Are the real dolly.
Exactly. Date them because you're interested in them as a person and you want to know more, and their culture and their difference is just a plus, or probably even a uniqueness, right? But don't let that be a sole purpose. So you can go tell the world and their mother, some there with a Spanish girl, every day she talks Spanish. You're not cute, guys, right? So that's the first one. Don't date someone because you sort of see their race as a fetish. And for step 2, try to notice if you also are basically someone is dating you
just because
of their fetish.
So
it's two-sided. You don't do it and then look out to see if it's being done with you, because I've heard about Caribbean women, a lot of foreigners, I've heard about the Caribbean women and them full of sauce and flavor and them can cook and them just, and I've also heard about Spanish women, and I've all kind of different races and cultures. So try to ensure that you're not being dated just because somebody want to show that, I have a black girlfriend, or I have a black boyfriend, or daddy didn't approve. So I've heard the daddy didn't approve type of thing, So you need to notice if you're on the other end of the stick. You deserve more than to be with someone that simply wants to be with you because of your cultural background or ethnicity. They should like you for who you are. You might be able to tell if you're with someone who's only with you due to their fetish, if the person makes racist fetish remarks, or if they've only ever dated people of the same race as you. So if you ask them about them exes, or you see pictures or something, and it's just one type of culture, it's probably a fetish, right? And if it is that they make out a comment, say probably about your ethnicity, your language, like I said, for Spanish, for example, make out of jokes with the whole hey papi, or the hey mommy, or
that's
whatever. You always hear about that, then it's probably a sign that this is a fetish and it's not like a real relationship.
Talk to me in Spanish. Talk to me.
Because I've seen this even in the movies. You have like people who jokingly then puts in there, she don't speak 1 ounce of English, even don't speak 1 ounce, but because the man look good, or the accent, they're with the person, they might marry the person. You see it as jokes, right? But it actually happens in real life. So you need to ensure that you don't date someone because they're a fetish and that you are not someone's fetish, all right? So tip 3, communication styles could be very different, so try to adjust. It's important to realize that you are with someone from a different background, and therefore they will have most likely been brought up differently from how you were. One of the main things this might affect is your partner's ability to communicate in the way that you want them to. If your communication styles are very different, this is certainly something you need to work on together. So we're grown up differently, and this even happens in your own culture, right? You probably grow in a certain communities, and me probably have a, let's say, a rougher background or whatever, and that affects our communication style. So can you imagine a whole different culture, a whole different person that don't even speak your language? They probably had to learn it as a second language, so they really know that much about your culture. So of course communication not going to be the easiest,
right?
So you have to make sure, and we've actually been learning that communication is the key, not even only in interracial relationships, all relationships, right? So you have to go develop that and just expect that, and have to go work a bit hard at communication, because certain things that we naturally understand about each other because we're Jamaicans, it won't happen when you're with somebody from a different country or a different culture. So it's something to consider, right? Next tip number 4. make a promise, and this is tied back to communication. Make a promise to communicate clearly and openly from the outset. So this is showing you just how important the communication aspect is.
Yeah.
Every time you're dating someone, you need clear, honest, and open communication for it to be successful. When it comes to interracial couples, this is even more important. As a couple, you will have to talk about race a lot.
Yeah.
So it's important to practice clear, honest, and open communication. Always allow for questions to be asked in the relationship, because if you don't understand each other's background,
Oh,
you
it's a
can
go-go.
ask what type of thing, right? Let's say,
I need to know.
yeah, your foreign man, if you know about the background and the culture and the ancestry and what type of food them eat and what do they do to celebrate their culture, because it's like, oh, we have street dance, and so they have different things that unique to their culture.
Yeah, and then it's not just basically what's wrong on all those things, because the biggest question sometimes is going to be why, you know? Why are you guys doing this? Why is that being done?
Exactly.
Because at some point you don't figure out the what, you know?
Yeah,
Because
true.
for example, you walk in a red. Oh, we know we are red.
We don't
dress.
wear red.
We don't wear red.
We want to
dress.
know why.
Why?
That's
There
I
is
love
it.
that point.
Yeah.
So you have to allow for questions to be asked throughout the relationship. And I don't think that would ever change. You could have married for 50 years. You probably still gonna have questions because you never grew up in it. So there's still things you probably won't completely understand.
Even persons in their own culture.
In their
still ask
own culture, we
questions.
still not understand.
And
We partner. Two Jamaican people still
we still have to
confused.
ask grandma, why them do this at this funeral, and why them do that?
Who is Kwaku?
Yeah,
Why
well,
everybody talk about
So we
Kwaku?
ourselves still have
shirt.
questions.
And him shirt. Why him shirt is so
Why we have to keep
important?
9 nights?
You
Yeah.
understand?
So we still have to ask questions. So if it was Spanish, they were like Dia de la Muerte, right?
Yes.
Day of the dead. Why?
Why?
We have to ask these
Exactly.
things.
So always allow space for questions if you're in an interracial relationship, right? There will most definitely be a fair share of uncomfortable conversations as well, whether it be due to racism, cultural difference, discrimination, heritage, or even just different traditions. You have to be prepared for those uncomfortable conversations. You should also try to communicate without judgment. Let me repeat that one there again. You should also try to communicate without judgment. And this is for the interracial relationships. Well, all relationships, remember that this particular topic is interracial relationships.
Of cultures.
So yes, try to communicate without judgment, so neither of you feel like you can't speak up when something bothers you or ask a question. Example, and I make sure I drop in the example because I remember this was breaking the internet the other day. Not washing the chicken before it cook. That was a thing. People were arguing, and then Caucasian people were like, no, that's bacteria, and it's in your sink, and it's on your counter, and that is not hygienic.
people that
And
wash their
then
dogs
black
in their
people are like, and no judgment. that is a judgment that you should leave out.
Bunch of judges.
Right? That's the judgment that you should leave out. But yeah, so there was a whole debate. So if your partner now tell you, say, boy, babe, me not wash chicken, you know, it don't mean if you done the relationship. Probably ask why. Try to understand.
You're gonna poison.
And maybe you have to teach each other, because in our black culture we believe, say, you know, everything vinegar with lemon with lime with everything, right? And then on top, if you say bacteria in our sink and we counter, let me tell you, black people in them kitchen counter ever wipe down when nothing on on it.
Time you walk past, you wipe it down.
Listen, they just pass them counter and all of a sudden and clout with some cleaning agent, bleach,
Sweet.
and for no reason at all.
Them all thing there.
Right? So if you're concerned about the bacteria from food counter and sink, and the sink can wipe up and the pipe will wipe up and all the pit in and get wiped down. So just understand that these things will come up. Another thing was not bathing daily. This was another thing that broke the internet. You had people that were like, no, because there's things in the skin and the oil and you're drying out the skin. And then you had black people that were like, what do you mean? Bathe the one, 2-3 times a day with rag. With a rag. So they're like, oh, you kind of see the soap. No.
The body wash.
Yes.
The loafah.
It lathers.
Right? So these things may come up, and it's not for you to bash them and be like, what?
I'll be like, huh?
Never. No, it's about, okay, well, that's how you were growing up. This is how I was growing up. Where is the middle ground? Is it that no, we're going to be in twice a week? Or
This is bad.
Yeah, every
I'm
other
just
day.
saying, it's nobody's really something to
Yeah, but
consider.
feel though,
Imagine you in a relationship and you and your partner argue about bathing.
True. That's true.
Who are done the
It's
water,
a real
them a
thing.
bathe every day.
And then you're pre them.
Arguing about no, there has to be a common ground for real.
That's
That's
why
why
I find a
they-
common
Yeah.
ground.
Don't argue about bathing, sir. You're going to go in that bathroom. You're
So
gonna
wait,
wash
you
behind
go
it.
bathing?
No,
I will
when
put
I
you in there.
sleep, when I sleep, shower them, pour water, and I'm gonna pay for my time. Put her on.
I shall pray to the Father cover him. You know, part of the Jamaican
Jamaican
most
culture.
of the parents and grandparents, them, when you are asleep, them a pray and
Yes,
a
true.
So,
Yes, babe,
will
what
carry
you doing?
through.
I'm cleaning it here.
And,
Don't worry about it.
and then you say, God, give him some sense.
yeah.
Give him some sense. I'm tired of this, right?
But, yeah.
But it's something to consider because
You're
as
gonna
much
have
as
to
we're
find a
joking
middle ground
about
somewhere.
it, those are simple debates. You have much more intense debates, differences in cultures, probably about marriage and stuff. I remember I was watching Love is Blind, and one of the girls an American girl was dating a Nigerian man, and the Nigerian family was telling her the requirement food for always in the fridge. Make sure you have this, make sure you have that, and it's like basically catering to the man in every single way. And she was like, hold on, my culture must stay, so yeah, I'm not mind for cooking, but me not gonna always have, there's a particular stew always have that available, and he mustn't need nothing. And it's like everything was for him. No one at one point said, oh, make sure I'm do this for you. At no point. It was all about him, and that's really how the Nigerian culture is. So people are like, yo, are you gonna do that? Are you gonna adjust? It's things to consider. There are people that will probably have difference from in their religion.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's another thing that comes with culture. Different religion. If me believe in a Jesus, you believe in a Allah. Where are we going to find a common
church to
ground?
go. But
But
and the end of the
believe
day,
in
too,
Jesus,
I'll-
I'm a Catholic and one
Or
day,
how we're going to grow
Baptist.
because some people decide, all right, you do your thing,
Yeah.
you do my thing, but how we're going to grow our kids? That's always where it coming in.
That's where the middle
But they're
ground
like,
comes
what
in.
we're going to teach them?
Can't
You
carry
take two.
carry them both places.
You take two.
Every second Sunday, go
people.
ex-church.
Yes.
And then the next part of that, Kim, as well, is, where to decide to live, especially if you guys are
Yes,
from different
different
locations.
countries, because some of them very traditional, like Spanish people, and so very traditional, and they want their families to be probably in the
Of
same
course, and you gotta
compound
live with
and
my
same
nana,
house.
you gotta live with nana in the house.
Yes, because if you check it out, especially in like Spanish culture, from great granny all the way down to the
Abuelita,
youngest
one house.
person in the one house,
Yeah.
And then the wives and husbands or whatever move into that house,
Yeah.
So it's things to discuss. So guys, if it is that you're going to try
Abuelita.
interracial relationship,
Abuelos.
it's something you have to consider, right? And it's not about judging them. That's judgment. You just know. You don't have to talk to the man about it. Just know.
But you say you want a foreign man.
Well, listen to me.
Yeah,
We're gonna
remind her.
compromise, and that's my common
That
ground.
not sound like a
No.
compromise.
That doesn't sound like compromise.
Anyway,
Find some.
we know why you're single. Continue, your Kim.
Wow. So that
Apparently,
is
I
why,
have a Valentine.
and that is why we're gonna respect every culture. That's tip number 5.
right.
Respect every culture. So the fact that different cultures exist in the world is a beautiful thing, and each culture should be celebrated and respected. If you're going to be with people from other cultures, it's essential that you respect every culture. Even if you don't possibly agree with every single part of someone's culture, it's vital that you owe it the respect that is due. If you don't start off by respecting your partner's culture, the relationship really can't move on from there. So the same thing as we just said, Jada, if the man used to bathing 2 times a week or twice every 4 weeks, right? You have to respect the man's culture. There are people that do this.
No.
Guy, you didn't see the
You
debates
will-
online.
Yeah, they do, and they say,
Yes.
we don't
And
like
they're like,
taking
we
shows
don't
because you get
exact, and the new,
heat.
yeah, and that,
to bathe
and then
and
the
all that
oil
thing.
in the skin is unhealthy to bathe every
dry my
day
skin.
because they're gonna dry your skin,
gonna
and
make
there's
skin
certain things
crack.
your body need. So as
And we
much
don't want to
as
set
we
a
don't
bad, a bad
under,
example for the kids.
right, and we don't want. I remember it was Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher that
Yeah,
posted
they
about
don't.
it,
Yeah,
and that is
every-
where
Yeah,
went, and they're like, that's
cultures.
just how it is
Yeah.
in their home.
You
The kids
smell.
bathe on the weekend or something like that, and people are like, but when you do things, when you play sports, go road, the sun hot.
Life is a
sweat,
sacrifice. You
exercise,
sacrifice,
whatever.
You smell for your looks. You sacrifice your bills for your health.
But it's not even that. As much as we probably on this side of the coin see it as strange, things that we see as completely natural, they see as strange.
Of course.
You have to understand. As much as we're like, what? To them, they're like, but I like this. This is
Like
what it
after
is.
we know, especially now,
Exactly.
Jamaica tropical climate, them come down here. See, them come down here in a marina and shot.
Yes.
We are walking around.
We are walking a cover up and yeah.
But even that, you say you meet a man and he's from wherever.
No, I don't meet any man.
And he comes to the island. It's hot.
Right.
For you, it might be hot because
Yeah.
you're used to a certain temperature. You're gonna look at me. You're gonna look in my four
Yeah.
eyes, and you're gonna tell me that you're still gonna bathe twice a week.
That is why discussions and conversations.
Him no want dry out
If you love him, you love him. So if you go work with him
No, we're not gonna love
and
you through the
teach
smell.
him,
We cannot love you through
him not
the
have a
smell.
what
smell.
him don't smell.
Probably him find a way to cope, or probably his body is accustomed to that lady.
But
spray.
no, you're gonna smell
Use
under
body
it. And you see,
spray.
because
You can't just assume, Jada,
you see,
unless you
because
experience
I know
it.
that
Yeah.
my brain is gonna tell me
Exactly.
that,
But
yeah.
that is why, as they said, remember in an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah. So you have to
They
know,
be like,
yeah.
babe, why you don't not like bathing, but I mean our
why you don't
culture,
bathe?
yeah, like we believe in a bathe 2-3 times a day. All if middle of the day you sweat too hard, you're gonna bathe again
Just because.
right? So that's a conversation, and as I said,
Go and wash
we
it.
are seeing it as strange because
And
it's not something that we're used to, but for them it's like breathing, literally, and that's something we have to consider.
I have a little cousin,
Mm-hmm.
Zinni, and Zinedine. For Zinedine, she doesn't lotion. You know, you take lotion, you have to lotion for her.
Yeah.
And when you're lotioning for her, this is her. Don't touch my hands. Don't touch my hands.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want. And I'm like, but how are you going to lotion in the future? She's like, I don't like lotion.
But you don't need to lotion.
I'm like, your skin go. I can draw my name on your skin.
But Jada, I know people no lotion, you know.
Yeah, but like,
Those things are
Especially men.
choices, Jada. Choices, Jada. Choices.
Choose not
Alright.
lotion.
of course. So guess what? You see the foreign man I look for already. All the signs and responses you've been given is don't date a foreign
Yeah.
man.
She sound like she not ready for the new
Yeah, you're
culture.
not ready for the foreign man
Ah, she-
thing.
remember what's a
Ever since
compromise?
Jamaica,
Ah, no,
no
she not budge.
compromise.
Not a
no.
budge.
She said, "I'm going to bed."
Or I'm going to bed. Yeah, it's
No.
choose. I'll bed. Yeah, I got your back, babe.
But you have to
Woman
be ready.
arrested for bathing man against his will.
Against his will.
What's the headline? What's the
Right?
headline?
But
But you
you
have
have to be on
to-
your ears too.
But you have to respect every culture. As I said, these are light topics that I'm sure there's more intense
you have bigger
discussions,
stuff in the thing
bigger
too.
issues that would
Mhm.
come up. And as I said, uncomfortable conversations will come up. Allow for questions. Try to understand. Even if you don't agree, as we just said, you may not agree, but try to understand that they have a completely different upbringing, and that's just how they see life.
All right.
So tip number, we're actually going to the break, and then when we come back from the break we will continue with the tips. They're almost done, about 4 more left, and then we wrap up our discussion on interracial relationships.